Hi, I'm Ivan Vincent from the Ugly Barn Farm. We're here to talk about our SNAPP project and the approved funding that we got for the pure air laminar flow cabinet, which is what we use in mushroom production to create a sterile environment when we're inoculating our substrate or any part of the stream. So liquid cultures, petri dishes, grain, every part of the process requires a sterile environment. And so this unit draws in air, filters out 99.99% of all particulate, and then blows clean air over your work area. The reason this was an important project for us is that prior to this unit, we were using a much smaller unit over there, and we found that it really slows down the process. So this one here, you can see there's a considerable amount of space where we fit, I think, 10 or 11 blocks inside this, and then we get to inoculating every block a lot quicker. Where this unit here would only allow us to fit 4 blocks in comfortably, and then at the end of every 4 block, we'd have to load those blocks out, bring new blocks in, and start the process over. So when you're able to fit 10 or 11 blocks comfortably in this unit, over the period of 300, 400 blocks, which is about what we produce, you end up saving a considerable amount of time over the entire process. So that's definitely helped us produce more, and actually has allowed us to hire somebody part-time for now, but looking forward to the end of the season, after all this production has taken place, to keep him on. So I can actually take you through a little bit of the process of what we do. Right now I'm just going to inoculate a liquid culture using one of our strains. This one is shiitake. So the first step of the process, because all the air that's being blown in here is filtered, you want to try and keep this entire environment as sterile as possible. So we have 70% alcohol. We spray on our hands and on everything that's going to be inoculated, as well as the work area. I have a scalpel that I'll use to take pieces of the culture. We put that in the back incinerator. We just loosen all the lids. And then the sterile blade is a red blade. Just to cool it off a little bit. Normally I'll let it sit. I do it this way because I'm right-handed. You want to try and keep it as close to the airflow as possible, where the airflow comes into the work area. Then what I do, just do a few of those. And we actually let that sit for a little over a week. Actually, this is shiitake, so it'll probably take a couple weeks. And you'll notice we got a stir bar in there just to help break up any mycelium that does grow. So I'll just set that there for now. Then I've also got these little test jars. So the reason we're doing these today is because we haven't used some of the liquid cultures in a bit, in actually a few months. So what we want to do, just to, instead of waiting for the other ones to be ready, we'll see if we can expedite the whole process and test them out. If they prove to be good, then we can go ahead and reuse them. You can see that the mycelium in this one is very weak. It never ended up colonizing very well. I might try it out anyhow, but I have very low expectations for this one. There's a lot more growth in this one. Again, we start off the process by sterilizing our hands and anything that we use. I'm going to do the black oyster. So what I'm doing is just drying up some of the actual mycelium that's in solution. And then just testing it on this grain jar. Then we'll do the same thing for all the species that we want to test. Normally we'll have 10 or 11 of these bags lined up, and we'll just grab them one by one. We have our sealer, and then of course we sterilize, sanitize everything before starting the process. These jars, these are the grain jars. So what we do to start it off is we try and break up as much of this grain as we can, because every single grain is an inoculation point. Some growers will use millet because per gram there's more inoculation points, but I find it a little more tedious to work with. And so we just focus on rye. Also, rye is just easier for us to get out here. So every one of these grains becomes an inoculation point in our substrate bag. Of course, we want to do everything as close to the airflow as possible. Just open the jar. Dump it in. I like to help distribute it. Test your bag out. Seal. You just distribute your grain. And that's your finished product. And this goes into the incubation room. Depending on species, from anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months. That will turn into this. So we find some of the challenges to growing mushrooms in the north. The obvious one is the cold temperatures in the winter. Growing indoors obviously helps quite a bit, but growing indoors efficiently is definitely a bit of a challenge. So having your indoor grow space properly insulated, you still have to bring in fresh air from outside. So if it's -30 outside, that fresh air needs to be tempered. So we have an HRV to help with that process. But it definitely proves to be quite challenging anyhow, because if it's -30 for a period of 12 hours, eventually your room goes down to -30. So to prevent that, you obviously have to heat your room. So doing this whole thing efficiently, where you're not spending all your time either lighting fires to heat up the indoors or using oil, whatever it is, whatever source you're using, that's definitely one of the challenging parts. The other challenging part is we don't produce a lot of the materials that are used for substrates here in the north. So what we have to do is order some of our product from down south. So a lot of the supplement that we use in our soy hull, red oak sawdust, is not easy to come by up here in the north. Any hardwood is a little difficult to come by up here in the north. Hardwood sawdust, that is. So all these products have to be purchased from down south. The shipping fees we've all seen increase in the last short while. So costs, as well as getting that material, and the temperatures are definitely the challenges that we find quite difficult up here in the north. With the new unit, our production did increase for a short while in the spring, but we tend to focus midsummer when the temperatures get really hot. Our incubation space tends to overheat. So as a result, we tend to focus a little more on the outdoor growing and refruiting already fruited blocks. So second, third, fourth flushes, we tend to focus more on those in outdoor spaces. And this year we actually saw some pretty high temps earlier in the year. I think it was like April or early May at least. So predicting that the rest of the season would be really hot, we decided to slow down production. So briefly, we did see an increase in production thanks to the new unit, and this increase in production we'll see again when the temperatures start to cool down in late fall, or mid to late fall, I guess, and all throughout the winter period. And hopefully next spring things will be a little more tempered to continue with that increased production.